Good morning, y'all. I have been doing this long enough to know the difference between a forecast that is serious and a forecast that is historic. Most of the time, the vast majority of the time, what I sit down with in the early hours of the morning is a serious forecast. Important, worthy of your attention, but serious. What I am sitting with this morning is different. What I am sitting with this morning crosses a line that I do not cross lightly, and I want you to understand from the very first sentence of this video that I chose that word, historic, with the full weight of what it means. Not because it makes a better title, not because it sounds alarming, but because when I look at the atmospheric configuration developing right now, and I compare it to the setups that have produced the most catastrophic, severe weather events in the modern record, the similarities are not passing and they are not subtle. They are deep, they are structural, and they are the kind that make experienced forecasters stop typing and sit back in their chair for a moment. I did that this morning. And now I'm here to tell you all about it, because every single person in the affected corridor needs to know what is coming together before it arrives. Let me start with history, because I think history is the most powerful tool I have this morning to communicate the magnitude of what is setting up. There's a date that every meteorologist, every storm chaser, every emergency manager in the south central United States carries with them. April 27th, 2011. If you live in Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, or Georgia, and you were alive and old enough to be aware on that day, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The 2011 super outbreak was the largest tornado outbreak ever recorded in the history of modern meteorology. On April 27th alone, just that single calendar day, 224 confirmed tornadoes touched down across the southern United States. 316 people died that day. Across the 4-day event from April 25th through the 28th, 368 tornadoes were confirmed in 21 states. 348 people lost their lives. There were 4 EF tornadoes, 12 EF4s. The Tuscaloosa-Birmingham tornado alone tracked 80 miles on the ground with a width of 1.5 miles. The helicity values across Alabama on the afternoon of April 27th, the measure of the atmosphere's rotational potential, ranged from 450 to 600 meters squared per second squared. The Cape values were running between 2,000 and 4,000 joules per kilogram. A powerful 80 to 100 knot mid-level jet screamed through the Ohio and Tennessee valleys behind the trough. I am telling you these numbers because I want you to have them in your head when I tell you what the models are showing for the coming days, because y'all, the numbers I am seeing in this developing setup are not in a different category than April 27th, 2011. They are in the same category, and that is not something I say in this job very often. Now let me be very clear and very precise about what I mean by that, because I never want to be the person who cries wolf on a comparison this serious. I'm not telling you that what is about to happen will be April 27th, 2011. The atmosphere always has uncertainty baked into it at extended range, and the exact track of the surface low, the exact timing of convective initiation, the exact degree to which the cap holds and then breaks. All of those factors will determine whether this event reaches its maximum potential or falls slightly short. What I am telling you is that the large-scale atmospheric ingredients being assembled right now, the thermodynamic fuel, the wind shear profile, the jet stream configuration, the moisture return, the forcing mechanisms, are being put together in a way that, in the historical record, has produced events like April 27th. That is not a warning I issue on an ordinary severe weather day. And this is not an ordinary severe weather day. This is a day where I am telling you, pay attention with your whole body from right now, not at 3 in the afternoon when the storms are already firing. So let me walk you through the ingredients, because understanding why this setup is this serious is going to help you make better decisions over the next several days. The first ingredient, and in many ways the most foundational, is the upper level pattern itself. What is developing right now is what meteorologists call an amplified omega block pattern, where a powerful ridge of high pressure is building over the eastern United States and a deep, cut-off upper level low is digging into the west at the same time. When a pattern amplifies like this, when the ridges get taller and the troughs get deeper and the whole thing becomes more exaggerated, the jet stream becomes more energetic, the pressure gradients become stronger, and the surface weather systems that develop underneath the pattern become more intense. The closed low that is organizing right now over the western United States is not a weak, high-latitude disturbance. It is a cold, potent, closed system with extraordinarily cold temperatures at its core. We are talking upper-level temperatures in the negative 45 to negative 55 degrees Celsius range at 500 millibars. Cold upper-level temperatures do two things that are both critically important for severe weather. They steepen the mid-level lapse rates, the rate at which temperature drops with height, which makes the atmosphere dramatically more unstable. And they make the anvil tops of any thunderstorms that develop under them extraordinarily cold, which is what creates the environment for truly enormous hail growth. This is the engine, and this engine is running hot. The second ingredient is the moisture, and y'all, the moisture picture for this event is exceptional. Surface dew points across the lower Mississippi Valley and Gulf states right now are running in the upper 60s to low 70s degrees Fahrenheit. And I want to put that number in context because it deserves it. Upper 60s dew points in mid-April are not April moisture. They are late June moisture. They are the kind of surface moisture you expect when the Gulf of Mexico is pumping warmth and humidity northward at full capacity on a raging low-level jet. That low-level jet, the river of air moving northward at low altitude from the Gulf, typically at around 5,000 feet, is forecast to strengthen to 50 to 65 knots ahead of the developing surface low, 50 to 65 knot low-level jet. For reference, on April 27, 2011, the low-level jet values across Alabama and Mississippi in the hours before the most violent tornadoes were in the 50 to 55 knot range. What that low-level jet does, beyond just transporting moisture, is generate dramatic directional wind shear in the lowest levels of the atmosphere, backing the winds from southerly at the surface to south-southwesterly at 2,000 feet to southwesterly at 5,000 feet. That backing of wind direction with height, combined with increasing speed, is the textbook recipe for extremely high storm relative helicity. And the helicity values I am seeing in the model output for the peak of this event are running between 400 and 550 meters, squared per second, squared, across portions of the primary corridor. Anything above 150 is favorable. Anything above 300 is significant. 400 to 550 is the range you saw on April 27, 2011. I'm going to stop saying that and let it do its work. The third ingredient is the convective available potential energy, the CAPE. And this is where I need to slow down and be especially precise, because the CAPE forecast for this event is the piece that has made me the most concerned since I first started tracking this setup 2 days ago. The GFS and the European model are both generating CAPE values in the 2,500 to 3,500 joules per kilogram range across a corridor stretching from northeastern Texas through central and eastern Oklahoma into southeastern Kansas and across the Ozark Plateau into southern Missouri and western Tennessee. 2,500 to 3,500 joules per kilogram. I have already told you all what the CAPE was on April 27, 2011. It was 2,000 to 3,000 joules across the most affected areas. The CAPE in this forecast is not lower than April 27, 2011. In some model solutions, it is higher. Take that extremely seriously. Now combine that CAPE with the helicity values I just described, and what you get is a composite severe weather parameter. The SPC uses a metric called the significant tornado parameter that combines CAPE, helicity, wind shear, and other factors into a single index that in the area of highest concern is forecast to exceed values of 6 to 8 on a scale where anything above 1 indicates significant tornado potential. 6 to 8. On the most dangerous setups in the historical record, the significant tornado parameter has reached values in the range of 5 to 10 across the highest risk corridors. We are being told that number by the models right now, days in advance. I need to talk about the CIG designation here because it is directly relevant to how you should interpret the outlooks you are about to see from the Storm Prediction Center over the coming days as this setup sharpens. Y'all know I talked recently about the new conditional intensity group system that the SPC launched in March 2026. CIG-1 indicates the potential for strong tornadoes, EF2. CIG-2 indicates violent tornadoes, EF3. CIG-3, and this is the designation that exists for only the most extreme, most catastrophic setups in the historical record. CIG-3 indicates an environment supportive of the most intense and deadly tornadoes imaginable. The SPC has specifically described CIG-3 as the designation reserved for historic setups. The example they used when they explained the system to the public was April 27, 2011, when you see CIG-3 hatching appear on the SPC outlook for this event. And I believe, based on what I am looking at this morning, that CIG-3 hatching is a real possibility as this setup comes into range. I need you to understand exactly what that means. It does not mean severe storms are possible. It means the atmosphere is being configured in a way that, historically, has produced violent, long-track, multi-vortex tornadoes capable of catastrophic destruction. Treat it accordingly. Let me talk about the geographic corridor I'm most focused on, because specificity matters and I want y'all in the highest risk areas to hear me clearly. Based on the current model consensus and the surface analysis I have been working through this morning, the primary corridor of maximum concern for the most violent convective activity runs from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex northeastward through the Texarkana area, through central and northern Arkansas, across the southern Missouri Ozarks, and into western Tennessee and western Kentucky. Within that broader corridor, the areas I am most focused on for the highest potential severity are the river valleys and low-terrain corridors of northeastern Texas, northwestern Arkansas, and western Tennessee. Areas like Tyler, Texarkana, Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Jonesboro, Memphis, and Jackson, Tennessee. I'm also watching the eastern Oklahoma corridor from McAllister through Muskogee and into the Tulsa metro with significant concern for the initial convective development phase. If you are in any of these communities, please make sure that everyone in your household knows what is coming, not generally, specifically. Tell them there is a major, potentially historic, severe weather event developing. Tell them when to expect it. Tell them where the shelter is. Have that conversation today, not the morning the storms arrive. I also have to address the overnight component of this event because the surface low track in most model solutions is moving the most intense convective activity through the Tennessee and Ohio valleys and into the Mid-South during the late evening and overnight hours. We are likely looking at a window of 2 in the morning through 6 in the morning across portions of western and central Tennessee, western Kentucky, and southern Indiana when the squall line and associated supercells are most intense. I cannot say this any more directly than I already have. Nighttime tornadoes kill people who would have survived if they had been awake. Every single time this happens, it happens because someone was asleep, did not hear the siren, did not hear the wireless emergency alert, and did not get to shelter. On a night when the setup is as serious as this one, being asleep when the warning covers your exact location is not a risk you want to take. Y'all call exists so that you do not have to take it. When a tornado warning polygon drops directly on your GPS location, y'all call picks up the phone and calls you directly, persistently. Not a push notification that gets buried. Not a banner alert that your phone silences in sleep mode. A phone call, the kind that wakes you up at 3 in the morning when nothing else in your house will. Y'all call is $14.95 for a full year of protection. The link is in the description below this video. Please set it up before tonight. I'm completely serious about that before tonight. The hail threat from this event is going to be significant and widespread across a broad area, even for communities that do not experience a tornado. When you have CAPE values of 2,500 to 3,500 joules per kilogram and upper level temperatures as cold as what this closed low is generating, the environment for very large hail growth inside the strongest supercell updrafts is as favorable as it ever gets in this country. I think baseball-sized hail, that is 2 3/4 inches in diameter, is not just possible, but likely inside the cores of the most intense supercells associated with this event. And in the absolute strongest storms, there is a non-trivial possibility of softball-sized hail at 4 inches or larger. Softball-sized hail is relatively rare, even in major outbreak events. I am mentioning it because the model data supports its possibility in this environment, and because I think people need to understand that the hail from this event is not a pull your car into the garage problem. It is a your car may be totaled problem, and a your roof may need complete replacement problem. Please take your vehicles and any equipment that is stored outside seriously in the days leading up to this event. The flooding component of this event also deserves standalone attention because it is going to affect the largest total geographic area and potentially the largest total number of people of any single hazard associated with this system. When a surface low of this depth tracks across the southern plains and lifts into the Ohio Valley, it draws precipitable water values, the total column of atmospheric moisture, to exceptional levels ahead of it. The WPC is already signaling excessive rainfall risks across portions of the Mississippi and Tennessee valleys that, in the worst training thunderstorm scenarios, could produce 4 to 7 inches of rainfall in a 6-hour window across the Ozarks, the Tennessee River drainage basin, and the Cumberland Plateau. Those numbers on that terrain, steep, rocky, fast draining terrain, produce flash floods that move with terrifying speed. Roads go underwater with almost no warning. Creek crossings that looked fine 30 minutes ago become death traps. Please, if you are in the elevated terrain areas of the Mid-South during this event and the rain comes down hard, watch the water. Watch it constantly. And if you see any water crossing a road in front of you, do not drive through it. Turn around every single time. It is never worth it. Y'all, I want to close this forecast the way this forecast deserves to be closed. This is not the forecast to scroll past on your way to something else. This is not the forecast to glance at and then forget about. Because the sky looks fine right now. This is the forecast that you save, that you share with your family in Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky, that you use to have a real conversation about where your shelter is and whether everyone in your household knows how to get there in 30 seconds in the dark. This is the forecast that I am going to be covering every single day with daily updates, as the models come into sharper focus and the setup sharpens toward its peak. I am going to be live the moment the first supercells initiate, and I am staying live through the overnight hours, through the squall line, through every warning, until every community is on the other side of this. Subscribe to this channel and hit that bell right now so you get the notification the moment the live stream begins. Set up Y'all Call today, not tomorrow, today, so that no matter what time the worst of this arrives at your location, you have a phone call coming to wake you up and get you moving to safety. Share this video with the people in your life who are in the affected areas. The Y'all Squad is the reason this information reaches the people who need it. And there are people in the path of this storm right now who have not seen a single forecast. They deserve to know. Share it. Get your shelter locked in. I'll be right here with y'all every step of the way. Stay safe out there. I love y'all.